I'm so excited today to bring with you my friend Yolanda Bynum, and today we're going to talk about speech contests. And also just know about what Yolanda's been up to. We're going to just have a chat, and I'm really just excited that she's here with me today just to talk about anything and everything about speeches and Toastmasters. So let's learn a little bit about Yolanda. She has worked for Shell IT for over 24 years, but her passion is public speaking. She has spoken before audiences as large as 5,000 people and even more virtually all over the world. Amazing, amazing. She's achieved first place wins in humorous tall tales and the international speech competition at the district's levels, as well as other various speaking competitions, including the semifinals of the Toastmasters International Speech Competition. She's been able to hit that semifinal stage multiple times. However, her greatest speaking accomplishment was when she earned a spot as one of the top 10 speakers in the world as part of the World Championship of Public Speaking competition. She's an amazing facilitator and presenter, having workshops that you can count on, but she loves it. And she's also a mom, speaking from her heart's joy, and she's really here today to help motivate us, inspire us, and encourage us while leaving an audience with a smile, which I'm just so excited that she is here with me. So let's begin. Okay, Yolanda, welcome, welcome.
Thank you guys. Hi. So let me say first that I have a child that is autistic. People that know me know about him. So he does this, and he's gonna let mommy interview now. So let mommy. Thank you. I'll get it for you. Okay. Thank you. Can you close mommy's door? Yeah. Thank you so much. I completely forgot to press
That's okay. Hey, it's all about it. It's fine.
So yeah, we're in a virtual world. So
We are.
but thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here, and I can't wait to get into this dialogue. I'm excited, very excited.
All right, so let's talk about what actually, maybe who introduced you to Toastmasters, and or maybe what you decided, or why did you join? For so many of us, we all have our different journeys, but I'd love to hear about yours.
I was introduced to Toastmasters. It has been almost 20 years ago. I stared at the question like, oh my gosh, has it really been 20 years? This guy I knew back then, Chuck Hinkle was his name. He's been in Toastmasters for almost 30 years. So Chuck has been in Toastmasters for a very long time. He works for Shell with me, and he happened to have seen me do a facilitation for a networking group within Shell. I still remember him pulling me aside after the event and saying, wow, I see the natural talent, but you need help. He said, you need to refine your craft. And he asked me if I'd heard of Toastmasters. And of course, me being the funny joker that I am, I was like, yeah, I've not heard of that, but I don't need any more calories on me. And I don't need to, and I don't drink. So whatever you're doing toasts at, I probably don't need to go. And he was like, no, Yolanda, Toastmasters is a speaking organization, and I think it would help you a lot. And he invited me to my first Toastmasters meeting. He was the president. He's actually chartered multiple clubs around the district, 56 district, but he invited me to this Toastmasters meeting, and I was sold. I joined that very day, participated in my first contest 2 weeks later, and I have been in Toastmasters ever since. It's been almost 20 years. 2003 was when all that happened.
That is so amazing. I think most of us who have joined, really one of our main reasons we joined was because our friend said, hey, come along, join me in this amazing experience. Absolutely. So let's give a shout out to your Toastmasters Club. What is your Toastmasters Club?
I'm a member of 5.
Well, let's shout them all out.
I'm a member of Memorial City Toastmasters. I claim that as my home club, but everybody wants me to claim them as my home club. The Memorial City Toastmasters, Sweet Talkers Toastmasters, Talking Bulls Toastmasters, Determined to Master Speaking Toastmasters, and the Speaking of Shell Toastmasters Club. And there are about probably another 4 or 5 that I attend regularly, believe it or not. And every single one of them has said, Yolanda, here's an application. So when you get to speak outside of the district, people want you to join, mostly so that their members can learn and watch someone that has been at those upper levels. So I probably claim about 8 or 9 clubs, but I'm an official member of those 5.
Do you find you talked about the many different clubs that you're in. Do you find that visiting other clubs or joining multiple clubs is a good idea? Can you talk a little bit more about that?
I believe it is. Each Toastmasters club and the way that they do their meetings are always different. There's never 2 clubs that are alike. You get to meet multiple people. There are multiple personalities. Each club has its own personality and each own their own goals. So one of the clubs that I attend that I used to be a member of that they're asking me to go ahead and fill out another application is Storytellers. That Toastmasters club focuses on refining your skill of storytelling, and you come out of there an awesome storyteller. I'm already a really good storyteller. I'm not kind of knocking myself on the shoulder, but I love telling stories as a part of my speeches. So I went to that because I love telling stories, but that's how you refine your skill. Memorial City Toastmasters, that is the most organized club I have ever been a part of. So if you want to deal with organization and keeping your members there and enthused, that's a great club to go to. Determine to Master Speaking is a club that elevates your speaking skills. So each and every one of them have their own little goals, their own little nuances. And if you like to shake it up, if you know you can't attend one club, you got another one that you can actually run to and attend. Since we're in a virtual environment, I encourage people to join as many clubs as they can because you don't go anywhere. So I've attended clubs in the UK. I've attended clubs in Singapore. I've attended clubs in Canada. I'm speaking with a group of finalists next week, and that club is based out of Canada. So this is a great time to visit multiple clubs and join multiple clubs all over the world. I would encourage everyone, go for it. Go check out some clubs everywhere and get in there. Some great clubs out there.
I think that's amazing. I need to do that as well. I'm on a journey to maybe visit some more clubs around at least Houston to get a different perspective. I think it's always good to see what they're doing. You learn so much from other clubs. What do you feel is the greatest benefit you've gained from being part of Toastmasters?
So it's taking something, as Chuck said, I love to speak anyway. I love being in front of an audience. That was never my challenge. Some people join Toastmasters because they're deathly afraid of speaking. And those are the people I love to coach. I love to watch their journey. That was not my challenge. My challenge that Chuck saw was I spoke very, very fast when I was in front of a group, and I often forgot about any sort of skill when it came to speaking. So whatever came out of my mouth came out of my mouth, whether it was uhs or ums or you knows or buts or so's. And Toastmasters took something that I do well, which is the facilitating and the speaking and the presenting, and it made me excellent at it. It provided me the tools in my toolbox that I could pull out at any time and utilize those to be an excellent speaker. So now I can go in front of people at a moment's notice. Now I don't need a whole lot of prep. I can go in front of an audience at a moment's notice, pull a pocket speech out and perform it, all because of what Toastmasters has given me, while still giving me even more tools to learn. So you never stop learning on this journey. I'm an excellent speaker now, but I have another notch on my excellent belt every time I go into that toolkit and pull out another tool that they've given me. So now I can just focus on motivating and encouraging and inspiring and uplifting people. And I don't have to worry about the skills part. The skills part is now inherent to me doing my craft, and Toastmasters did that. So that is the greatest benefit.
I love that. I love that story. And how much you can actually grow in Toastmasters. You realize that you may have gone for one reason, but soon you realize that you get so much more out of it than
Exactly.
just learning how to prepare and have a speech.
Exactly. Exactly.
And it's in such a short time frame that you have this growth. I can't explain it. So for those of you who may be watching this and saying, you know, maybe Toastmasters is not for me, I promise you your journey will be amazing. And you have so
Absolutely.
much support.
Absolutely.
You mentioned that you joined Toastmasters and 2 weeks later you did your first speech contest.
Crazy. I know. Yeah. Yeah.
What made you decide to actually do your speech contest after joining just 2 weeks 2 weeks later?
So early in my Toastmasters journey, it was really just to have fun. I love to have fun. I love to entertain people. It is just this natural niche. One of my kids, I have three awesome kids, but my middle kid, my 21-year-old, is an actor, a singer and dancer. Where all that comes from is his mom. It's in me to entertain. Toastmasters gave me that platform to entertain. So I joined my very first contest, which was, I want to say it was an international speech contest, but I didn't know anything about the contest. I didn't know anything about them. I joined as a character, Moses, and talked about the Ten Commandments and how you have to abide by those in order to be a better person and make the world a better place. But I created the character. And people who have known me all this time, there's still some people that remember me walking on that stage as an old Black character named Moses with the staff, talking about the Ten Commandments. Oh my gosh, that there gave me a rush. It gave me a rush. So I only participated either because of entertaining. I wanted to entertain, and that was an outlet, or somebody said, you know what, that was a great speech you gave. It really does need to be on a stage. It really, really does. And every time I achieved the highest goal for that contest, which is to win first place in the district, I stopped because I wanted to give other people an opportunity. So I won the humorous speech contest back in 2008 or 9, and then I didn't do it anymore. I won the Tall Tales the very first time I competed in 2005 and didn't do it anymore. But that's okay because I went on to coach people who want to do these competitions. And the international speech, well, that's, of course, a whole different animal. The highest goal that you can achieve there is the world champion of public speaking. Every time I don't do it, I get excited because then I can go back and I can do it again. It makes me so excited. It makes me so excited. So yeah, I joined my first contest literally to entertain people. I have this creative thing that I have to foster and grow and release every once in a while. And Toastmasters contests give me that opportunity.
You mentioned that you coach other people who want to do the speech contests and they want to achieve their highest goal.
Absolutely.
And as we may know, or you may not know, as the listeners here today, there are multiple steps to going on your journey to the world of Toastmaster speaking. In your experience or in your journey, could you provide us, what was some tips or maybe your experience or things, lessons learned, if you will, from going through this journey of the different speeches, or what you coach others on in giving their speeches when they're going to go to a speech contest?
The fortunate thing about doing these speaking competitions at the higher levels is that the district trusts you to give tips to those that want to do the same. I have been blessed to be either coaching people individually if I see them, especially in the area or the division contest, because I usually end up there. If I see them, there are times when I'll just pull them aside and I'll say, I would love to give you some feedback on your speech to take it to the next level. And they say yes, or the district is saying, you know, it's speech contest season. We need you. We need you to talk to a group who may not know everything there is to know and things that they need to remember as they get to those upper levels. Because as you get higher up, especially with the international speech contest, as you get higher up, you end up seeing a different caliber of speaker at those higher levels. I still remember remember when Ramona Smith, who was the world champion of public speaking in 2018, I believe, I still remember when I saw her at the division contest. I will never forget it. I pulled her aside and I said, "You are the craziest speaker I've ever met in my natural life. And I like that. I would like to talk to you about that. Can we talk?" And she was like, "Oh my gosh, yes." And I could tell for Ramona, it wasn't about the trophy. She was just being her authentic self. If you can be your authentic self and win a contest, you have an awesome formula. And I didn't want anybody to change that. As you get higher up, you start getting evaluations thrown at you from left field. They just come out of nowhere. They're just hitting you in the face. And I wanted her never to lose her authenticity because I told her that was going to take her far. So I still remember sitting with her in restaurants before she went to district talking about her speech contest. I still remember talking to her before she went to the semifinals, sitting in a restaurant, listening to her speech and telling her, "Go with your gut on these speeches and please do not lose yourself." And people still remember when she stepped out on the stage and she stood there for a minute, took in the moment, and you could see her go, "Ah!" Well, that's her personality. And I was like, people will remember that moment that you stood there and you were your own self. So that is the first tip I would give. Please do not lose yourself in this process. Do not look at the cookie cutter. This is what this person did, and what these people are doing to win contests. I think if you do these things as yourself, regardless of the outcome, I want you to be proud of what you did as you. Also, I would say write your speeches down. Believe it or not, I've seen some people wing it at the World Champion of Public Speaking. They just got up there and winged it. And I'm like, why would you do that? Because nobody told them that they needed to write the speech down. So at least write your speech down once so you can get all your thoughts down on paper. And make sure you time your speeches. Please time your speeches. I have seen speeches get disqualified for being a second over. Speeches that would have won at the world champion level get disqualified because they were 1 or 2 seconds over. And it's usually because the person that is prepping don't allow for audience reaction when they're preparing to speak. The audience always reacts, and the larger the audience, the longer the reaction. So you have to allow for some reaction time in there and allow for a buffer. And also don't see this as a contest. Think of it as just another speech that you are giving at your club. That way you can relax and take the focus off of all of the lights and the cameras and everything that comes with being in a contest. You could just focus on delivering a kick butt speech and doing your best. If you happen to compete in these competitions and you do not win the competition, I really need you to consider your why. Why are you joining these competitions? You asked me how I ended up in my first contest. I would ask people to ask that. I would love it if you ask yourself that question before you even approach the stage. Your why is very important. If your why is to win a contest, you're going to be disappointed a couple of times because you will not win every single contest that you participate in, unfortunately, and that you compete in. I would really love for people's why to be about their journey in Toastmasters. If your why for joining Toastmasters was to be a stronger speaker, let that be your why when you're doing contests. If your why was to inspire people, let that be your why. If it was to become a better leader, let that be your why. If that is your why, it doesn't matter whether you win, lose, or draw. It doesn't matter if you walk away with a trophy as long as you accomplished your why. So that's the last tip that I would give. So write it down, make sure you time it, be yourself, ask yourself about your why, and don't lose you in the process of doing these speech contests because you will quit before you really start if your why is not something that is rooted and grounded above just those trophies. I have a ton of trophies, but it's the stories and the hearts that I touch and the inspiration that goes out there bigger than any of these trophies that I've won.
Yeah, I think those are great tips. One of the things that you mentioned is feedback.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I always think feedback is definitely good when you are going through your speeches. It's a way for you to be able to understand and improve. Even if you practice your speeches,
Right.
it's definitely different when you're practicing it in front of audiences and you're getting that feedback.
Right.
You mentioned that feedback is good, but still remain your authentic self.
Correct.
How do you, as you're going through the process and you're getting this feedback, can you talk a little bit about the preparation, or what, as you're going through these things, what type of feedback are you hoping to get so that you can improve?
When I was participating at the semifinals, the feedback that I always want to get is what would make this speech, I guess, make it stage ready, I would say. And really, the more perspectives you get, the better. As you participate in contests, the judges, they're not you. They will always have their opinion. The audience will always have their opinion as well. And you can only do so much tweaking to your speech. So I go into it asking for their opinion, just like an evaluation of what would make this speech more elevated and better in their eyes. Once I get all that feedback, I really do take a step back and I say, okay, now I've heard all the feedback. Which one will I apply that will still keep it me, still give me my message, but I feel like it really would elevate the speech. And as I got higher up, my I guess my my circle of mentors that I asked for feedback kind of changed. So at the contest levels, at the club and area and division, I asked for feedback with regards to an evaluation. Tell me what you heard. Tell me how it left you feeling. And tell me now what's the one thing that when you leave out of the room, you're going to remember it. And I do that whether it's humorous, I do that whether it's tall tales, I do that whether it's international, because you may be saying one thing, but they may be hearing another thing. So I always ask what they heard, what they felt, what they're going to walk away with. At the higher levels, I go to like the Jim Keys. Jim Key won in 2003. I go to Mark Brown, who won as well. I go to kind of a higher level. And I do that because they've heard it all. They've seen it all. I still remember when Mark Brown got my semifinal speech that it won. It ultimately won the semifinals. But I still remember when Jim got it. And I still remember when Mark got it. Jim, he was good. Mark took my speech and said, okay, that sounds really, really good. Now I need you to cut about a minute 30. Cut a minute 30 out of it. I was like, wait a minute. This is 7 minutes of brilliance. Why don't we cut a minute 30 out of this? And he was like, cut it. I want you to cut it down. And once you cut it down, bring it back to me. And he did that because he wanted me to look at this speech and pull out everything that didn't do anything for the speech. And believe it or not, I was able to cut it down another minute and a half. And all you're left with is the parts of the speech that you cannot live without. He said, now go back and add 1 point, piece by piece, until you got to 645. Do not go above 645. And I ended up with a brilliant speech that did not go above 645. It was perfectly done. Perfect. It was a perfect speech. So test yourself again. There's always pieces of your speech that you can pull out, believe it or not, that if you took it out, your speech would still make sense. It doesn't need it. We want to fit everything we can. Some people want to use their speech, get it up to 7:29. They really want to use all 7 minutes and 29 seconds. But the laughter, if you go listen to my semifinal speech, the laughter took up a good 90 seconds of my speech at various points in time. There's no way I would have qualified if I had a speech that was 7 minutes. Even 7 minutes, I would have been disqualified because they laughed a lot during the speech. So keep those things in mind as you are preparing. And when you ask for that feedback, make sure it's people that you trust, and only use, at the bottom line, use really what it is that you want to use. You're ultimately the one that's going to give the speech. So use only what you feel comfortable using.
I think it's so important, the pause, to
Mm-hmm.
leave pause in your speeches.
Yeah.
It's the time to also take a breath in your speech, and maybe
Right.
the only time you're able to take a breath.
Oh, yeah, indeed. Your heart is beating and you're thinking of a million things. That's another thing that you'll see if you look at my semifinal. You'll notice the moment where I forgot what it was I was going to say. So yes, even Yolanda has gotten up there to speak and forgotten what she was going to say. So there was a moment where I stopped, and you'll see my hands moving. That was my pause, right? Like, what am I supposed to say next? And then you'll see where I picked it up and I kept going. So that pause is important for emphasis. That pause is important when you're telling a deep, I want you to get this, I want you to come with me audience. The pause is the moment where they're just going, and they're leaning in. They really want to, yeah, the pause is powerful. It's a powerful thing.
Before we wrap up, I wanted to ask you one last question for the audience here is, what do you feel as you're doing your speech contests that is you gave us some really great tips, but that one focus or one major thing for those who are going to participate here in the next month or so,
right,
that they really need to think about getting into the speech, or what is that you could give them as that final, I guess, highlight? That's splash.
That big bang. Every speech that I've written has been, it's been something that I've felt here. And can you give a speech that's completely disconnected from you? 100%, absolutely. You can tell a humorous speech about somebody else. You really could. But I think the more personal the speech is during these contests, the more you come out of that particular speech. So if you're planning to do a humorous speech, make it something that's happened to you. Make it something that you've seen. Make it something that you can put yourself into. If it has to be something that is third party, put yourself into the speech. I think when you do that, it takes on a whole different life of its own. It all of a sudden, again, it becomes personal. If it's personal, you pay closer attention to it. You do. You really do. And when you're doing the international speech contest, if you're going to motivate, inspire, encourage, and entertain, please remember that you also have to do this for an international audience. They forget that when they're planning for the international speech. Think above you. So if a person from Brazil heard your speech, would they get the same impact? If a person from China, a person from India, a person from any place, would they still get the same impact? So if you're going to participate in the international speech contest, that's what the international piece of it is. People assume it's because, it's an international organization. Well, no, it should speak to the international masses. Make sure it is a speech that does that. And take your audience on kind of a roller coaster. Give them a little steady stream and then take them up. But don't forget to bring them back down so they can, take a minute and give them another little steady stream so they can catch their breath, kind of like that pause you talked about, and take them up again. And as they're coasting into, the end of it, give them something where they go back and go, wow, I've just been on a ride. And what's going to happen if they enjoyed the ride? They're going to want to get back on the ride again. So as you're writing these speeches, keep your audience in mind. They're going to be people that are listening to this. If you look at those that won the World Champion of Public Speaking this year, the first, second, and third place winners, they all took the audience on a journey. It was something that was authentic and personal to them. And the roller coaster was crazy. It was crazy. And humor. Well, Yolanda, I'm not a funny person. Yes, you are. Everybody has some sort of sense of humor in them. Give us a smile at least once or twice during your speech. Please don't let it be a straight. Even if I'm doing a technical speech, I find a way to make the audience laugh and smile. We need that today. We don't need a morose, sad, despondent, wow, I feel worse than I did when I came to this person. Please, please don't do that. Don't do that. Yeah, that's what I would say. As you're preparing to write this speech, keep those tips in mind, and it will be an awesome speech. It will be an awesome speech.
This has been amazing. How can somebody reach you if they want for you to be able to coach them? How can we get a hold of you? This is your time. What's your information that we can pass on to the audience if you want to get in contact with you?
Yes, they can reach me at shiningspeaker@yahoo.com. All one word, shining speaker, because that's always my goal, is to make sure people shine. And they reach out to me on that email, and I will get back to them. I'm also on Facebook. You can find me, Yolanda Bynum, on Facebook. You'll see a lot of these stories that I share extend to there. I think it's therapy, sharing stories. It lets people know that they are not alone. But yeah, reach me one of those two platforms, and I will definitely get back to them. I love to coach. So please reach out to me if you have any questions, comments. If you want me to take a glance at a speech, I'm here for it. I would love to do it.
Well, thanks so much for being here with me today to talk about speech contests. I enjoyed getting to know you more and just excited to see what's next on your journey in Toastmasters. So thank you for joining me, and you'll hear from us soon. And for this next episode, we'll see who will be up next. Talk to everybody later. Thanks, Yolanda. See you.